Hey guys, I hope your day is going well today. I'm David. I'm a recovery coach for addictions and behaviors. I'm in university. I'm now in my third year in addictions counseling. I'm a smart recovery facilitator. So if you don't know what smart meetings are, I do recommend that you go to smart recovery meetings and Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever you want, but personally, smart. I'm a smart facilitator, and I'll just stop there and say, if you, if anyone is interested in recovery coaching, and before I tell you about this lesson, which is a really good one today, they all are, but some are very particular and things that you and I have to remember. Um, to move on right at the beginning when you're having a hard time. How do you even start this? So I'm going to talk about that. So if you're interested, I will leave my email in the description box. And I'm going to do a little bit of, like I have a book here from Smart Recovery, and I understand I don't want to use things word for word because I am a smart facilitator. And, but before so what is this anyways? This is unconditional self-acceptance, unconditional other acceptance, and unconditional life acceptance. I am a former substance abuser. I don't give myself labels. I don't agree with labels, like Alcoholics Anonymous, where they say, like, hi, I'm Dave, I'm an alcoholic or an addict. I haven't used for over 17 years and I just keep it that way. So that's a difference in smart recovery that I go by. But whatever you want to use it is fine, right? So, yeah, I realized, guys, I have esophageal spasms. So if you notice something in my speech, it's because I get spasms and need rest. So, do you know that 80% of people who abuse substances, it is proven in the statistics that 80% of people who are, I don't know if it was constant abuse, but I believe it was. I believe it would be a substance abuse disorder, have some form of trauma, right? So, and that connects to this lesson today and why it's so important to learn this. There are a few things that I'm gonna teach you that are so important to your recovery that if you don't learn these particular things, then it'll be very hard to recover in the first place, right? So the question is, so I'll say that again. It's unconditional self-acceptance. You can probably gather what that means right away, but I'll give you a better description. So it's self-acceptance. You accept who you are first. You accept unconditional other acceptance, others and everything to do with that, and life, where you are in life. So before I even go on with this lesson, there's a reason why I am connecting trauma to this. Because when you take away a substance, or when one of the biggest fears of someone, let's just say they're on a psychoactive drug, or they're abusing, they're abusing alcohol. I don't even care what it is, as long as you're addicted to it, that you find yourself in a state where you're so lost in your mind about what is even true anymore, right? And you forget that person that started to use in the beginning. Maybe in the beginning you didn't even use, people walk into substance abuse for different reasons. For me, I wasn't looking for anything. My friend handed me a drink when I was 13 years old. and it was rum and coke and addictive personality. I didn't even know it, right? It's just like, I don't know, it must have been a genetic predisposition because I started to binge drink. And then, as time goes along and you start abusing more substances, you kind of forget who you are, right? And like I said, there's all different reasons people step into starting to abuse it in the first place. It may be for no reason. It may be because you have trauma and you're trying to hide things. It may be because someone died and you start drinking and you're lonely or something like that. And as time goes along, let's just say a year on, you start to become confused in your thought. Like what will happen if I take this thing away? What am I going to be like? Right? So the substance that you're using is essentially a Band-Aid. And then when you wake up the next day, it's like that Band-Aid is partially pulled off. And then, or it's, like starting to really come off. That would represent like being in withdrawal or just not having that substance. And you're afraid what's underneath of what that is. And so you forget what you really were, and you become so afraid within yourself, right? You become so afraid within yourself about who that person was in the beginning. And maybe you're starting to exaggerate things that actually were because you forget because it's so long ago. That's why this lesson today is really important. So, this is a lesson for everyone, but especially for those people who are in that position, who are thinking about coming off of their own volition, like you want to do this by yourself. No one's forcing you, but maybe someone's forcing you too. But I want you to recognize at the same time, it may be your wife, it may be your husband, because of a marriage, because of the law, because of all sorts of things. Maybe you can't afford it, or you just want to stop. I can understand it's scary to want to take these things away, but whether this lesson is for you, it's on both sides of the spectrum. It's on, you may still be using, and you want to hear this lesson, and it'll be important for you in the journey ahead, or where you are right now, and you need a little bit more help. So let's talk about this. So I don't want to read it word for word, but just think of the problems that you may have in your life. What if you have depression, you have anxiety, you have all these different things, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you decided to start using. And you recognize this is intolerable. I can't live this way anymore. I'm not waking up in withdrawals. I'm not putting up with this stuff. I'm just not putting up with this stuff anymore. I hate it. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be in withdrawal a lot. And so one of the things that was in my mind is like, what am I really like, without these things on a constant basis? Even though a lot of the time I felt good being away from things like alcohol. So let's talk about unconditional self-acceptance. That's what it means. It's unconditional. You're accepting yourself for who you are, where you are. So I don't know what your circumstances may be. It may be hard for you to accept certain things in life. Maybe you're diagnosed with a mental illness. Maybe you have trauma. Maybe you, whatever it is you're going through, you may be living in poverty at the moment. You may have some strange situations going on. But if you can't bring yourself to say, okay, well, we're talking about self-acceptance. I'm not talking about life acceptance yet. I have anxiety. Give me a second. I'm going to look into the definition of this because this is the one I really want to talk about. So let's read a bit of this. Unconditional self-acceptance is the idea that you have worth just as you are. This explains what separates you, your character, your traits, personality, strengths, and weaknesses from your behaviors. Things you may have been given a lot of labels by doctors and all different things. And by the way, in smart recovery, and I don't want to make this about smart recovery, but I just want to give this a generalization. This is important to learn that, if the label addict works for you, that's okay. Substance abuse disorder, that's okay. If that helps you to identify what you're going through, that's fine. Accepting yourself may be difficult. You have caused others a lot of harm. So think of all the things that have gone on, right? You've ruined the lives of others, plunged your family into debt. Like not everyone can forgive you for things, but you can forgive yourself and accept that you're a worthwhile person in spite of your past behaviors. So it's accepting the things of self. And I suppose, well, they're going into others anyways, but the things that you're dealing with personally, like anxiety, that is a tough one without having to read that. Accepting self. I have strengths. This is what I can do. I'm not that good in this, but you want to take a good mindset. That's accepting that I may be weak in one area, I may be strong here, right? And this is about persisting through this, right? It's about acceptance. That's what this is. So the next one is unconditional other acceptance. Again, you may have caused, you may have been using for 20 or 30 years. It may have been just 6 months, but in that 6 months, you've caused a lot of pain and a lot of harm. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you just caused it to yourself. There's a whole lot of different things that could have happened in that time. And other acceptance. You can't control what others do, what others say. Yeah, I mean, in some capacities, you may be living with others, which does, a lot of people are living with family these days because of the price of things going up and everything. But during your stint, however long you were using, now you're putting yourself into a different world. You're starting to take these things away. You've taken these things away, or you're just about to. And you're going to have to deal and accept what those things that are outside of yourself and others. This means other people in your life, a teacher, a friend, a doctor, right? You go to your doctor. Maybe you and your doctor don't have it. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that's happened between you and your doctor, right? When you're abusing substances, not a lot of good stuff comes out of these relationships, right? But first you accept where you are, and then you accept other people, right? You accept that maybe here's the silver lining. Things can change. But you have to accept that's the way it is. You can't change other people. You can't change that circumstance. Certainly you can go and speak to people and try to correct wrongs and stuff like that, but also understand some of those things may be irreparable, right? And if they are, you have to come to an acceptance, because if you don't, what it will do is it will eat at you. It'll eat at you. And you don't want to be, what's the word? Ruminating on that all the time, because this is your recovery. You're going to have to put it to bed in your mind, right? So I'll just look quickly at theirs. What they say: you may judge other people inaccurately and in an exaggerated way, just as you judge yourself. Once you accept that other people are capable of making mistakes, then you can accept that they fail at things too. So judging another, totally bad. So I explained it in a different way, but you heard what I just said there. So what is unconditional life acceptance then? Let's see what the definition is for here. They say you can judge life in the same way as being completely unfair or totally terrible, like black and white thinking. That's for another lesson, by the way. The cognitive distortions that we have in our mind. I will just segue into this for a second. Maybe I'm not sure if I did that already, actually, but I'd probably do it again. Cognitive distortions are things, ways that, and this is the cognitive behavioral model, and they're true, that I just said there, black and white thinking is one of them. It's either really good or really bad. People who might say things like, oh, I could never do this, already prejudging how it's going to go out, like mind reading and stuff like that, but going off the mark. I'll just read what this one says. You can judge life in the same way. So this is unconditional life acceptance. You can judge life in the same way as being completely unfair or totally terrible. When you find yourself thinking life sucks, it couldn't be more awful, remind yourself of the good things that have happened in your life. If you can accept that there are many things you cannot control, it may help you better accept what life throws at you, even if you don't like it. What I would call this? Stoicism. You've heard of that word probably before, and there certainly is a Stoic movement out there. It just means to keep pushing on. That's what it means to be Stoic, to keep pushing on, to have a certain attitude about things. But unconditional means like unconditional love. You love someone unconditionally. There is no, I don't know, what would be the definition of unconditional? Let's look. It means absolute, complete, not limited by any terms, conditions, or prerequisites. When a thing is unconditional, it is guaranteed to happen or exist no matter what the circumstances are. Pardon me. If I look down here, it's expanding. You accept that life is inherently full of both joy and hardship, rather than demanding that life must always be easy or fair. Now listen, you who are watching this may have a really bad life, right? I'm not saying that. So what situation are you in this present moment, right? You don't want to take a bad view of life. And I will chime in with my own life experiences right now because I want it to help you. I don't know if you can tell, I move a lot in this. I have problems with my throat, esophageal spasms. I suffer with a lot of pain in my abdomen and my legs. And if I didn't accept that, would I not have a miserable life? I have to accept that in my life. I have to accept unconditionally that, okay, and I know this is what's going on and it's really painful. And in this video, I'm actually in a lot of pain in my abdomen and I try to hide it. But it becomes harder to move on in life. How are you supposed to move on if, you're all nasty towards the way that life is? I believe the people that tend to move on and start getting better and better and find themselves in substance abuse capacity getting better, finding themselves going from an action stage of going to meetings and stuff to making it normal, going out and seeing nature and stuff and being positive, right? And I mean, we're all in different areas of our life, but this is where you are in life. Accept it, and you do the best that we can with what we have. You may have a disease. You may have anxiety, whatever it is, and there are really hard things. There are things in life that are really hard to accept. Believe me, I've been through them and I go through them still. But we must do the best with what we have today, right? So guys, that's my lesson. It was a little tough for me to do just because I didn't want to copy this perfectly, even though, I'm a smart facilitator, but I just don't want to copy it perfectly, even though Smart Recovery didn't invent this lesson. This was by, what was his name? Robert Ellis. But you know what I'll do? I will leave a link in the description box for you to look at what unconditional self-acceptance, unconditional. So it's yourself, others, and life. Those three things. So I'll leave a good article for you to read because it'll help you along your journey. And again, I will leave my email if you would like to have some recovery coaching. And so just to let you know what recovery coaching is, you make the decisions. I'm not an addictions counselor, even though I would, like to be at this moment. I'm working my way towards it, but no. These are your decisions. What is it you want to do? I will help guide you through it, and I will help motivate you through it as well. I can help you find the resources, whatever it is. I can help you find articles. I can help you wherever you live in Canada or the US. I can help locate treatment centers, places of resources that you need. So if you're looking for that, feel free to reach out to me. The email, by the way, is lionofjudah.istaken@gmail.com, but I'll put that in anyways. If you want to reach out to me, guys, or leave a comment, if you leave a comment, it actually helps, and a like, right? Thank you very much. Have a nice day, guys.